Hey everyone, today I'm going to go through the 4th edition book, Dungeon Delve. I'll put a couple links down in the description if you find that this is one that you would like for yourself and you want to help out the channel. The book was released in February of 2009 and is a little bit different from other 4th edition books. It's not really an adventure, nor is it a rule supplement. It's actually a collection of 90 different encounters spanning all 30 levels of D&D 4th edition. The encounters were designed to either be used as is or as part of your own campaign. Before we jump into the book, I would like to take a moment to thank the channel members for their support. If you would like to be a channel member, please click on that join button down below. But let's take a look inside. The book is 191 pages long. The table of contents shows the 30 different delves with 3 encounters listed under each. While the 3 encounters in each delve do have a connected story, the collection as a whole does not. Each group of encounters is self-contained. The introduction then provides some background on how Dungeon Delves came about. It says that the first were played at the 1998 Gen Con Game Fair, and it turned out to be really popular, and there was a line of players that wanted to try their hand at it. Over time, they refined the rules and eventually led to this book. Naturally, the first question that you might ask is, what is a dungeon delve? And they answer that straight away. At its core, it is a collection of mini dungeons that can take a group of 5 characters all the way to level 30. So if you did decide you wanted to play each of these delves together, then you could get a full campaign that goes all the way to level 30. You have the option to use these as is or as side quests in another campaign, or really in any way that you want. Since each delve is self-contained, it would kind of be like playing episodic television rather than the more serialized approach that you are used to with Dungeons & Dragons. It is stressed that these encounters are really great for new dungeon masters to get some experience running games. I think this is another example of how DM-friendly 4th edition was. It seems that everything that they published had an eye toward helping the dungeon master run better games. There's an interesting section on DM versus adventuring party. D&D is typically a cooperative game, and that usually extends to the dungeon master in that the DM is supposed to be a neutral referee, but the book shifts that balance a little with this section. You have the option to run these encounters with the dungeon master actively working to defeat the party. So there's no fudging of dice rolls behind the screen. In this case, the dungeon master's strategy would be going head-to-head against the player's strategy. This gives the encounters a new dynamic, and it can be really interesting and a nice change of pace from a typical game if that's something that you're interested in. There is some guidance to help you if you want to expand the delves into a larger story, and there's a few tips to adjust the encounters due to the number of players at your table or the setting of your campaign, and it even encourages you to change the setting itself if the encounter works but the locations do not. In the end, everything here is a tool to help you run a better game. These are not hard and fast rules that tie your hands in any way. It's really just a nice collection of encounters that you can use in whatever way suits you. I really like this page, and you see this a lot in the 4th edition books. They have these tables that list all of the new monsters that are introduced in this book. It tells you their level and their role and what page they can be found on. This makes it really easy to pull some of these monsters for use in other parts of your campaign. And finally, we also get the biographies of the designers. Then we get into the delves. There's 1 delve for each character level and 3 encounters per delve. The encounters make use of the dungeon tiles that you could buy separately. Each encounter uses the layout that 4th edition is famous for. You get the overview of the situation, then details on the specific monsters being used, the stat blocks for those monsters, a map showing exactly where the monsters go, features of the area, and the tactics that the monsters will use during the encounter. There are also some ideas to help you expand each delve into a larger story if that's something that you're interested in. One really nice thing is that every single delve in here provides the same level of detail, so it isn't like they have a few really good ones and then the rest of them are just outlines. Every single encounter is fully fleshed out and uses the same format and has all the same level of detail. Not every encounter is just monsters. There are a few that contain traps, and you can see the detailed stat blocks that you get for those traps. As we flip through, you will see that it makes full use of those dungeon tiles. The maps used for each encounter are just different variations of those same tiles, so it all does start to look a little familiar by the time you get farther into it. Normally, I would talk through the book as we went through each page, but I feel that this one is more just a visual experience to see the number of encounters and the detail provided. So I'm going to step away and just flip through the book so you can get a feel for how much it contains, and then I will chime in along the way when there's something that I want to point out. If you want to see all the pages, then please just keep watching, but I will put a timestamp on the screen so that you can skip ahead to my final thoughts if that's what you're mostly interested in. Here you can see that some of the encounters use skill challenges that were a big part of 4th edition. Whether you play them as written or use them as a guide for a social encounter is up to you. If you are interested in running these encounters for 5th edition, Wizards published a document in 2016 that provides guidance on how to convert characters and monsters and adventures from prior editions into 5th edition. It's not a perfect document, and it doesn't give 4th edition the attention that it really needs, but it is a good starting point, so I will put a link to it down in the description. This group of encounters introduces some new magic items that you can use here or pull them out and use them in your own campaigns. As we get deeper into the book, you can see how complex some of these maps start to get. I couldn't find PDF versions of the dungeon tiles available, so it could be difficult to make these maps exactly as described, but I think there are plenty of other maps and tools out there where you could easily substitute using whatever it is that you have. And of course, you can always just use a wet erase grid and draw your own representations of these locations on the fly. This is another one of those books that transcends versions. Even though it uses 4th edition monsters and stats, the maps and the tactics and the features and everything else can easily work in other editions with just a few modifications. I think the book typifies what 4th edition is all about. Tools for dungeon masters to run great games with minimal preparation. Each encounter is very detailed and easy to use. You can really just open up this book, go to one of these encounters, and it's pretty much ready to run right out of the box. I picked up my hardcover from Noble Knight Games and the PDF from DriveThruRPG. I will put those links down in the description if you are interested. Let me know your thoughts about the 4th edition Dungeon Delves book. Have you played these delves or adapted them for your campaign? I would love to hear from you as always. Until next time, take care.